Want to get into the mind of a billionaire? Like, do you realize that there are certain secrets that billionaires have that aren't necessarily a secret? What it is, like, do you but but it just seems like everyone else just doesn't get it. And and if they knew how simple like their success formulas were, people's lives would change almost overnight if they just implemented these things. But do you know one of the easiest and hardest things that most people never do? It's think. I'm going to share with you why I say and why they say that's the easiest and the hardest thing that most people never do. That will get you life changing, generational changing results, not just for you, but for your family and not just your immediate family, but your generations to come. Like Henry Ford, like Andrew Carnegie, like Elon Musk's, like Einstein and Edison. Like we're gonna get into some things, but first, who we're gonna focus on today is just Henry Ford, because Henry Ford, there's some things that he shares. You know who Henry Ford is. Like some of you may, I mean, you've all heard of him. Many of you may have already driven his cars, but do you really know what made him the GOAT, right? When it comes to the industry and how he changed it. What I'm not going to talk about like how he changed the industry. I'm going to talk about the mindset that he had, that he shares, that got him there when everyone else said he was nuts, like he was crazy. And so like do you ever wonder sometimes what's in the minds of some of these guys? Well, I'm gonna tell you, Henry Ford is actually someone that's in my billionaire mastermind. He's one of the people in my billionaire mastermind. I talked about it a few weeks ago how I have a billionaire mastermind. In fact, I'll tell you again who's on my who's in my billionaire mastermind. And so these are guys that I love to study. I like to see how they think and the things that they do. I've read a lot of their books. I get into their mindset, and these are the guys that are in uh my billionaire mastermind. I'm going to read them to you. First one, Jesus Christ. He's in my billionaire. He's the top. Second one is King David. He's number 2. I'm also in the billionaire mastermind. Billy Graham, he's also in my billionaire mastermind. Albert Einstein, he's in my billionaire mastermind. Like you're gonna see a whole different like group of people and how they like why I like it's so broad, like a broad range of different things. Ray Kroc, he's in my billionaire mastermind. Elon Musk, he's in my billionaire mastermind. Magic Johnson, he's in my billionaire mastermind. Walt Disney, he's in my billionaire mastermind. And then there's a couple of others who actually made it, but they're like that. Like I got 10 on the list, and then there's 3 others who like sit the bench. They ride the bench a little bit. And one of them is Isaac Newton. And there's a reason why Isaac Newton rides the bench and he's not like on there, because and Isaac wasn't a quantum physics guy. He was a classical physics guy, and classical physics has limitations where quantum doesn't. And so Isaac Newton, so I won't get into that. Andrew Carnegie, he rides the bench. And also so out of all the people that I mentioned, there's only a few who are alive today. Jesus Christ is alive. Who else is alive? Magic Johnson's alive. Elon Musk is alive, and the last person on that rides the bench is Dr. Joe Dispenza. And Dr. Joe Dispenza, like you may or may not know him, but he is also a quantum mind, a quantum guy as well, quantum physics. He's a physiologist, but he's actually he well just go. We'll be talking about him later on at some point, but not in this one. Today we're going to focus on Henry Ford, because all of these guys, they share a few things in common. They've all been very, very, very successful. Some significantly more than others. Many of them have had, they changed the world with the things that they've done. Most people, most of them, not every one of them, but most of them have changed the world. All of them changed their the existence of their family, generation, world. They've all had an effect on millions of lives. But there's different reasons that they're all on, but there's something in common. Like, do you all have, let me ask you, because since we're in here and I know we got people live, I want to know, and just type in the chat, like type in the comments, let me know if you have are there people that you look up to? Are there people that you emulate? Are there people that you follow? And I mean, I don't care if it's on social media or on YouTube or really like books and like, are there people who you, when you look at the things that you're looking to accomplish, there are certain people that you like, you use them as a guide, whether you know them or not. Like the way they've accomplished things, where they've like the way they've changed the world, the way they've grown. Maybe they've come from like very, very humble beginnings, and then they've really just, you know, they've accomplished something that really, if it wasn't knowing that, it was so much bigger than anyone could have ever imagined for them. And so you look up, not just look up to them, but you look up to them, you admire them, but you actually watch them closely. Well, I can tell you, if there are people like that, if you don't have those people, if there are, put them, if you got some of those people, type them in the comments. I'm really interested in who those people are. Like, but when it comes to success in anything, if you are doing that, I'm going to tell you, you're doing the right thing. That is how you are able to accelerate your success. Like, sometimes it's hard to see it through your own eyes when you're looking to accomplish something so big and so great. And it's hard for you to envision that it's possible. But then when you look at others who have done it and then you study them, like you really study them, and you see how they got there, the journey that they took, the ups and the downs, the hills and the valleys the hills that they were on, the valleys that they had to go through. And then, like, you already know the end story, so you know the mountains that they climbed and the peaks that they actually rose to, where they were able to put that stake, their flag in that peak of life that it has allowed them to do something so amazing, where their families' lives have been changed forever. Their generational cycles have been broken. Lives of hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people have been changed because of them. Well, Henry Ford is one of those guys. And just, if you don't know who he was, who was Henry Ford? He was a pioneer, the founder of the Ford Motor Company, like you all know that, but he was a pioneer in the modern assembly line technique for mass production. And he was also known for his insightful, often provocative thoughts on business, innovation, and life. And his statements often carried the brevity and depth of characteristics that were mind-blowing, right? And so I love to study this stuff, and I'm going to go through a few of them so that, because you may not even know that some of these things that you hear people saying, he's the one who started it. So here's some of the things, and this is how Henry Ford's brain kind of worked. Like, one of the things that he said was, failure is simply the opportunity to begin again, this time more intelligently. So failure is simply the opportunity to begin again, this time more intelligently. And what does that do? He's talking about highlighting the positive aspect of failure as a learning opportunity, right? So many of you out there, you may feel like you've you failed at something and you just stopped. And this is a common thing for the most successful people in the world. Anything that's worth doing, you're going, you in 99% of the time, you're not going to succeed your first time. Like anything that is life-changing, chances are you're not going to succeed the first time. But he's saying that's Henry Ford recognizes that. He's been through it, obviously, and he recognizes that, and he's pointing out that that part is the part that makes you who you are and allows you to accomplish the great things. Right? Anyone who stops learning is old, whether at 20 or 80. Anyone who keeps learning stays young. Right? You have to be a lifelong learner. Anyone that believes that they know it all, or anyone who doesn't really like to learn, believes they know it all. But those of us who love to learn recognize that there's so much we don't know. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And what that does is it emphasizes the power of belief and attitude in determining success. So key. The only real mistake is the one from which we learn nothing. Again, those quote unquote failures, those quote unquote mistakes, that's where the greatest learning opportunity comes. And if you learn nothing from it, then that's really the only mistake, not learning from it. Quality means doing it right when no one is looking. You can't build a reputation on what you're going to do. Did you hear that? And that, what does that do? That highlights the importance of actions over intentions in building credibility. But as I back up to the one we talked about, quality means doing it right when no one is looking. Like I say that, in other words, a lot. Like it's not what you do when everybody's looking. It's what you do when nobody else is looking. When nobody is there. Like, what are you doing when no one is there? When no one is around? And so that part, like I live by that. Not when the cameras are on, like that's all nice, but how are you representing when nobody's looking, when the cameras are off? How are you representing? Right? Because really that then becomes between you and him. And type in if any of these things that I'm going through, type in the comments if any of them resonate with you. I'm going to go through a few more. He says, if I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. Did you catch that? And it's so true. Like, think about Henry Ford. Everybody thought he was crazy, but he was an innovator. He had a vision. God gave him vision, just like God's given you vision. And what did he do? He said he recognizes that the vision that God gave him was he would be the only one to understand it, not everyone else. And if he went and asked everyone else what did they want, they would have just said the same old thing that's not really working, just doing more of it. Faster horses, right? Is limited. Faster horses. So true. It's funny. So funny. Like, you think about our families, think about people in life that need your help. They don't recognize there's another way to do things. Sometimes they think they just need to work harder. Like, they think harder work is really what's going to get them. Isn't that what we're taught? Work harder. Like, just put in the work, the blood, sweat, and tears, and that'll get you to the end. Like, I'm not saying I have nothing against hard work. However, when it comes to doing things that are 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 times greater than anyone you've ever known has done or told you it was possible for you to do, it ain't gonna just be about hard work. Like, think about all the people, like the richest people in the world. You like, do you think Bill Gates works harder than me? No, I don't. Like, you think Bill Gates works? Do you think I work harder than the garbage man that's picking up my trash every day? I don't. Do you think I work harder than? Do you think you work harder than the people who are in the hotels cleaning those rooms? Probably not. You might, like, if you punch a 9 to 5, if you're an assembly worker or something like that, maybe you might. But I'm going to tell you, who those of those of us who are making 7 figures and above, like, we still work hard, because 7 figures really ain't that much. Like, you make $1 million, $2 million. I'm gonna be honest with you. That is really not that much. It really isn't. It's a lot, but it doesn't. That ain't changing, like, generational cycles. I'm gonna hold on a second. I'm gonna take this call because I want to say, hey, saying I'm on a live. What's going on, brother? Okay, so those leases, you ready for me to sign those leases so we can lock those up? All right, I'll get them locked up. And then that other one, are we on or what? All right, cool. All right, let me know. I'll get those after I finish my session tonight. I'll get those signed, and then we'll get that money over and get it wrapped up. All right. Thank you. Yeah, so that was one of my realtors that I met, and here in Florida, I met him. He helped us pick up this beautiful place out in just in the Ellington area, just above Sarasota, and he loved us so much that he's like, "Y'all want some more?" And I'm like, "What you got?" And so he found us another, like, literally within a few days, another 8 units that we just signed the lease. We're just signing the leases on those tonight. So we'll be picking those up, and he's got a bunch more places. So those relationships are so important. Remember what Henry Ford said: whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. And so, do you think you have the ability to change your family's generational cycles? Like, stuff that's been done for generations that have kept them in, just on lockdown, financial lockdown for generations. Do you think you could change that? Do you think you have the power to change it? Like not just for you and your kids, but for you and your kids and your kids' kids and your kids' kids' kids and the generations that you'll never even know. Do you think you'll be able to change that? Well, what did Henry Ford say? Whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, either way, you're right. It's true. Right. So let's get into some more. If I had asked people, okay, number 8, obstacles are those fruitful things you see when you take your eyes off the goal. Ooh, that's good. I mean, these are all good. Obstacles are those fruitful things that you see when you take the, I'm sorry, those frightful things. I'm not into fear and all that stuff. I'm into I said fruitful, frightful things that you see when you take your eye off the goal. So you could see one or the other. You could see the lack or the abundance. Most people, what do they see? They're focused on the problems versus all the abundance. Like that's we'll keep going. You got it. And go ahead and comment. And I love to hear your comments. Chop your own wood, and it will warm you twice. Now, this is the mind of a like this is a mind of the goat of someone who has changed the world. Like with not like the cars, he was an innovator when it came to that, but then he changed the world with his innovation with the assembly line. Like he didn't just make cars, but he changed the world. Like people in the car industry hated Henry Ford because the way he changed the whole landscape of building these cars, and then he's the one who created the 5-day work week, where he like his thing was give these guys 2 days off. He didn't do that just because he was trying to be nice. Well, he did it because he knew he would get better production out of them if they had 2 days off. But when I say production, I don't just mean how hard they worked and how well they worked in the factory. I'm also talking about production as far as they haven't, if they're off and they're spending time, they got leisure time. Now they also have the ability to buy his cars, right? They made them, but now they're buying them too. Give people the time off so that they can have leisurely time. And when they have leisurely time, they're going to spend the money that you paid them, give it back to you. Oh, go to the banks and borrow so you can get even more to purchase your cars. Like he was ingenious, but others didn't see that. They're like, you're crazy. Like work these people 7 days a week. Like we know, like we're losing money when we get. They didn't get it. They didn't get it. People hated him. All right. Vision without execution is just a hallucination. Vision without execution is just a hallucination. It's good. It's good. Action. Like you gotta act on these visions. When God gives you a vision, it ain't for us to just sit around and ponder it. Like act on it. All right. Coming together is a beginning. Keeping together is progress. Working together is success. Coming together is a beginning. Keeping together, that's progress because most people can't even come together. A lot of people talk about it, but they come together. Then being able to stay together, like that's progress because most people once they get together, they all in each other's way. But working together, like having a vision, everybody everybody being in tune and in alignment with that assignment, that's success. So, and what does that represent? Like one of the key things for me when it comes to success in business, one of the key things of the 3 C's that I call them: cash flow, collaborations, right? So cash flow, collaborations, and kids. right? So the 3 C's is so important, right? Collaboration, strategic collaborations coming together. Why do you think I have this billionaire mastermind? You might like, Jim, you don't even know these. I know them. Y'all just don't know how I know them yet. All right. A business that makes nothing but money is a poor business. A business that makes nothing but money is a poor business. Like the people that I work with, I don't just work with people that just they just here for a side hustle. Like I do not waste my time. Honestly, I don't. Right? Because they're poor. Like they won't make it. What do you mean they're poor? They're poor because like in order for us to do something great, the reason why we do it has to be greater than us. And if it's just about making a little side hustle, that ain't greater than us. Like, that ain't great. I don't need to do that. I don't need any more money. Not like that. Not my time. Our time is so much more valuable than that. Right? If you want a side hustle, go get a job. Right? Anyway, we'll keep it moving. It is not the employer who pays the wages. Employers only handle the money. It is the customer who pays the wages. So anyone who is in business knows that, or anyone who's accomplished anything great knows that in order to have enormous success, you have to serve the people. You got to serve the people. The customer is the people who you serve. They vote with their pocketbooks. They vote because you help them. And when you help them to accomplish the thing that they desire, then their vote is with their pocketbook. Their vote is with their money. And so it ain't about the employer who pays the wages. It ain't about, if you're working for someone, it's not about the employer. It isn't even about, like, the employer only handles the money. It's the people who you are serving in that platform who are the source. All right. Money is like an arm or a leg. You use it or you lose it. These are not my words. These are Henry Ford's. You use it or you lose it. I understand that. Do you understand that? Like money is like blood. It's got to flow. And in fact, well, there's like it's like blood more than you know. Like it's like blood more than you know. If you think about money, money and blood are both fungible objects. Like it's not like a car. Cars are not fungible. This chair is not fungible. My iPad is not fungible. What do you mean by fungible? Well, fungible means that, like a car, if you borrow my car and then you bring me back another car that is like my car, I ain't having it. Like if you borrow my iPad and my computer and you bring me back another iPad or computer that wasn't my iPad or computer, it doesn't replace it, right? But money, if you borrow $100 from me and you bring me back 10 tens, I'm still gonna be good with that. You bring me back 25s, I'll still be good with it. It's still $100. I prefer my $100 bill. If you bring me back 101s, it still is good, right? Money is fungible. Same thing with blood. I'm O positive. If I need a blood transfusion, you don't have to I don't have to I don't have to store up my blood and that's the only blood that I can use in the event I really need more blood. You can share that O positive blood with anyone who's O positive, O negative, blood is fungible just like money. And money is also the lifeblood of the economy. It has to flow. If money does not flow, it's like if your blood doesn't flow, what's going to happen? You're going to have a heart attack and die. If money does not flow, then the economy does not work. It will die. If you do not allow your money to flow, guess what's going to happen? Your financial growth is going to die. It has to flow. It's got to go up. It's got to go down. It's got to go up. It's got to go down. In fact, the more you can make it flow, the more you make it flow, the more you make it grow. The more you allow your money to flow, the more you're going to allow your money to grow. My money circulates so much. It's how we're able to grow. You just heard the phone call that I just had. Like, those are 8 units we just picked up here in Sarasota. Like, beautiful places. We just picked up another 4 units out in Jamaica. Just signed the lease yesterday, today. We just picked up another 4 units out in New York. Just signed the lease 2 days ago. The money's flowing, but it's got to go down before it goes up. Like, all that money's going out, but now once it goes out, what's going to happen? Now Airbnb starts making all these electronic funds transfers into our accounts. Why? Because that's how it works, and it's going to be more than when it went out. It's got to flow. Stop holding on to your money. It's got to flow. All right. Use it or you lose it. But when I talk about flowing, I don't mean just going out, like, having money for the sake of just paying bills like poor people do. Like, don't think like that. Like, it's got to flow in a way that's going to get you a return. So I'll just leave it at that. I don't have enough time because we got a session at 7. All right, let it flow. There's no man living who isn't capable of doing more than he thinks he can do. There's no man living who isn't capable of doing more than he thinks he can do. We all can push beyond what we think our limits are. Every one of us. Do you believe you have limits? Have you ever pushed beyond limits because I'll tell you, most of the limits that most people have are not limits that you created. Most of the limits that most people have are limits that someone created for them. I'm going to leave it at that. Like, we can unpack that another time. The man who will use his skill and constructive imagination to see how much he can give for $1 instead of how little he can give for $1 is bound to succeed. The man who will use his skill, his gifts, and constructive imagination, the highest level of value is imagination. The second highest is communication. The third highest is unification. And then the lowest is implementation. So you got implementation, unification, communication, and imagination. Imagination, those Henry Fords, the Elon Musks, the Steve Jobs, they're the billionaires who changed the world because of their imagination, right? So he's saying the man who will use his skill and constructive imagination to see how much he can give for $1 instead of how little he can give for $1 is bound to succeed. The greatest thing in life is experience. Even mistakes have value. One of the greatest discoveries a person makes, one of their great surprises, is to find that they can do what they were afraid they couldn't do. Have you ever been afraid that something was going to fail? Like, you couldn't do something? Like, was there something that your friends, family, loved ones, teachers told you it was like, you can't do that. You ain't good enough for this. You ain't good enough for that. Like, you're not strong enough. You're not tall enough. You're not short enough. You're not smart enough. Like, you ever had those limiting beliefs? Like, mom didn't do it this way. Dad didn't do it that way. Yo, you crazy for even thinking something like that. Have you ever been limited by those kinds of thoughts? And then like something encouraged you to just step out on faith and do it. Just do it. Like, in fact, you don't even have to tell anybody you're doing it. Just do it. And you had faith and did it. And then everything that everybody said that was going to happen didn't. Have you ever been there? Like, I've been there. I've done it. Like, type in the comments. I'm really interested in hearing your comments on this. Well, what Henry Ford is saying is that, like, most people never get past that. But if you're one of the few who do, and you realize that you can accomplish what you felt wasn't possible, then you've just opened a door that you're going to be able to continue to walk through to create great success. And then the last thing is, there is joy in work. There is no happiness except in the realization that we have accomplished something. There is joy in work. There is no happiness except in the realization that we have accomplished something. So finding value and satisfaction in the achievements of your labor. That's it. And when you love what you do, even when it gets tough, it never feels like work. So Henry Ford's insight to business and innovation and the nature of his work, like, I love it because it continues to inspire today. Today, it continues to inspire and provoke thought, demonstrating his profound impact on modern industrial practices and personal, corporate philosophy. So I'll be sharing some other thoughts from some of my other billionaire mastermind members, and but hopefully this was helpful. And if again you're looking to accomplish anything that is worth accomplishing, like, most people who's done that didn't just reinvent the wheel. They learned something from someone, and something from someone else, and something from someone else, and then they spent the time doing the hardest and easiest thing that most people never do. Just think. They put it all together, and then they spent time just thinking. And it's the hardest thing, because sometimes, like, you gotta like, most people feel like they gotta always be doing something. And sometimes it's the hardest thing, because you just need to stop doing everything and just think. Just stop. But it's really the easiest thing, because you really don't have to do anything but just think. So it's the hardest thing and the easiest thing that most people never do, that will have the greatest, it's the highest level of value, imagination. The highest level of value is imagination. That makes billionaires. It changes the world. It doesn't just change the world, it changes families. It changes generations. Like, start there first. Start there first. Changing you first to change your generation first. And then maybe the Lord might show you how you can, because you were able to change your generations, now you can possibly even change the world. Whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, either way, as Henry Ford said, you're right. So hopefully this was a blessing. If it was, guess what? Share, comment, and like the channel, and then also just share it with someone. Maybe it'll be a blessing to them as well. And the, in between now and the next time I see you, remember, implement. Don't just listen. Take action. All right. God bless you, and I'll see you changing the world.